Okay, my purpose in this video is to show you some cool shortcuts. Okay, first of all, if you are watching through a video, you can use J, K, and L as your navigation keys. For example, I hit L and it starts forward at normal speed. If I hit L, oh, I'm at the end of the video, never mind, that's not going to work. So if I hit L, starts normal speed. If I hit it again, double speed. Anyway, you get the idea. K will stop the video. J will play it backwards. And again, hitting J multiple times increases the speed of play backwards. So this is useful if maybe you're just looking at the footage and you want to see, oh wait, what was that one? And anyway, it's just kind of quicker than having to go to the mouse and grab the cursor and drag it back a little bit. So kind of useful. The other thing for navigation is you can hit the right key on the direction keys to go 1 frame. If you hold down Shift and then hit the right key, you'll go 5 frames. Now there's probably somewhere that you can change that, but I think that the default is 5 frames. And same thing with going left. 1 frame backward if you hit the left key, Shift left, 5 frames backward. So that's also really helpful. The M key will set a marker, which can be useful for a lot of reasons. Let's say I have a spot in this clip that I know I want to line up with a spot in this clip. By double clicking and bringing it into the source panel over here, I can set my marker where I want it to be and hit M, and it will put a marker not on the sequence itself but actually in the video and on the audio in this case. Now I can go to this one, double click so it opens in the source panel and do the same thing, hitting M, and you can see that marker show up here. Now if I drag these on top of each other with this magnet snap in place, it will automatically line all of those markers up right on top of each other. Another way to do this is to go to Synchronize and choose Clip Marker. So let me show you, that'll do the same thing, but if they weren't lined up and I go to Synchronize, you can do this using a lot of different things, but if I do Clip Marker, it'll line up just like that. Now with with video, that's probably not what you're going to do, but let me show you another case that might happen. Let's say I'd recorded this audio separately, so I'm going to unlink it. Let me delete this marker so I can show you. Well, that's okay, I'll leave it there. Let's say that I used a clapboard or something, and I was able to figure out exactly where these two audios, where the audio matched the video. And I used a clapboard or something and set these two markers to say, okay, this is exactly, this point I need it to be at. So I pick these two, go to Synchronize, Clip Marker, and it will line them right up. I've talked about this one before, but if you're editing video over here, you want to decide which part to put in. The I key puts an in point, in as in IN. The O key puts an out point, as in O-U-T. I guess I don't have to spell that one. So if I want to put that into the clip somewhere, let's say I want to put it at the end, which is probably the most likely. I'm going to put the period key. It's going to put it right at the end of that clip. Now if I put let's say I want to put it right in the middle somewhere. If I wanted to to overwrite what's already there, I'm going to use overwrite, which is the period key. If I want it to just, there's in and out points here for some reason. That's why it's doing weird things. Okay, so what I need to do is right click on there and go clear in and out points. There we go. Okay, so now if I click the comma, it will cut this clip in half, shove that in the middle, and then we'll keep going with the rest of the clip. That's probably not what I want to do, but just some useful things. Okay, here's some other cool shortcuts. Okay, this one is super useful. Okay, now if you pick one of the windows, especially one of these two windows, and you hit the Control with the tilde button, which is the one at the very top left of the keyboard, it's right left of the number 1 and right underneath the Escape key. So hit Control and then hit tilde, and it will make that screen that you've selected go full screen. Now this is probably a little confusing because what just went full screen was a screen capture of the screen. Anyway, yeah, a little bit confusing, but you get the idea. Now if I were to do it over here, is there something else I can use that's like not going to be so confusing? Okay, let's do this one. So again, Control tilde. Now you get it, right? Goes full screen. Anyway, that's a good one. There's some really useful ones for these tools in the middle. Z, for example, is zoom, but actually I usually just hit the plus and minus keys. Oh, I guess that's a good one. So plus will zoom in right where you have your cursor, and you don't have to be on the zoom thing. So it's useful if you know, oh, I want to see what's going on right here. Then put your cursor there and then hit the plus key. Zoom out, minus key. If you hit the backslash, which is like above the enter key under the backspace, then it will like make it so that your whole sequence fits onto the screen here. The C, if you hit C as in caterpillar, you'll get this razor tool, which is nice for cutting things. Again, if you put it in the general vicinity of the cursor, it will cut right where your cursor is. If you do it somewhere else, obviously it'll just kind of guesstimate where you're at. I've talked about this one before, but if you're on the selection tool and you just hover near the end of the clip, it will either give you the yellow ripple edit or the red, I don't know what it's called, edit, depending on what your settings are. But if you hold down Control, it'll give you the other one. So my default's yellow, holding down Control gives me red. If your default's red, holding down Control will give you yellow. That makes sense. Okay, if you want to make a new title, hit Control T. That will give you a new title. That's kind of a useful one. And you can make it a rolling title or a crawling title, as we talked about in the title video. I don't actually want it. Shoot, I just had another one. Oh, I think that all Windows programs do this actually, but if you put your mouse over anything with tabs and then you roll the scroll wheel, it will actually move between the different tabs, which is kind of cool if your mouse has a scroll wheel. And on this one it can be useful because sometimes you can't see them all. So you scroll through them and you can find all of them. I've already showed you this, but if you close some of your windows on accident, you realize that you actually wanted them. They're all here if you know the names of them, but sometimes the names are confusing. Let's say we close like all of these ones, for example, and this window just disappears. An easy way to get that back is to go to Window Workspace, Reset Current Workspace, yes, and it will bring back all the windows that were originally here, anyway. You get it. These little guys right here will determine the video that you are going to export. Maybe they determine other things as well. But, for example, if I just want to export a little bit of this to see maybe how the quality is looking, Control M, as in Marmaduke, is my shortcut for you for exporting media. Again, you can do the work area. That's what that is called, actually. The entire sequence will actually still export everything that's in the sequence. You can set in and out points, you can do custom, and it will let you set it actually right here. Seems like a pain to me though, I'd rather set it actually in the sequence. But it's usually set to work area though, which is that thing that we were setting right here. This is your work area, I guess, is what they refer to it as. Control M, again, I've shown this in different tutorials, but the best thing you want to do if you're exporting to YouTube is go H.264, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find a YouTube preset, which is just perfect. And there's different ones depending on what your video quality is. If you don't know what your video quality is, I highly suggest looking either at the footage and going to, using the scroll wheel, going to your metadata, and you can find, this is funny because it's 10 frames per second, that's just what the software did. Usually it's going to be either be 23.9 something something or 25 or 29, I think. But anyway, you can also see what the video quality is. It's also, again, like a weird thing because I just did full screen. But usually you'll have more normal things, like this one for the Handycam was metadata 24.5 frames per second, so I'd do 25 frames if I were you, and then 1080, so that's HD. You can also look at the sequence. If we are on sequence, it'll let us go to sequence settings, and it will also say here 10 frames per second, frame size. Okay, so pick the best fit, and you can export there. Output name, you click on that, and it'll show you where you're outputting to. Outputting. Okay, this is one thing I didn't show before. We're going to show it real quick. If you do Q instead of export, it does work, but what it's going to do is open up Adobe Media Encoder, I think is what it's called. Oh yeah. The benefit to this is it lets you keep working in Premiere instead of having to wait for the export. The downside is it takes longer to export, and it freezes up your computer if you're using the one I'm using so much that it's not even really worth it. So it pulls up. Here's the one you're exporting right here. You just hit the play button up in the corner, and it will start your export. It'll show you down here what step it's at and all that jazz. I don't actually want it to do that though. And it'll make that cute little noise when it's done.